everyone. Welcome to Introverted Vibes
and Extroverted Energy. My name is C.C. and I'm here with my lovely co-host,
Dr. Jaye. And again, welcome to our podcast. Our podcast, Introverted Vibes, Extroverted Energy, is all about how we as Black women with two types of personalities, how we navigate our lives as introverts and extroverts.
Yes. So what you're going to hear on the show is all the different things that you can expect from someone who has more of an introverted or an extroverted personality, and
one who is very quiet. Quiet strength is what we present as introverts. This is who we are, but how we navigate through all of our spaces in life, personally and professionally.
So what I feel like is you are going to identify with one of us. Whether you have more of an introverted personality or you are more of an extrovert like me, there's going to be something that's going to resonate with you as we talk about business, family, life, how we navigate being entrepreneurs, and how we navigate our lives in corporate America. So we are so excited to introduce ourselves to you.
All right. Well, Cece, do you want to know how we came about this idea of this podcast?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, it was all Dr. Jaye. It was Dr. Jaye who wanted to get us started. So tell us, where did you even think about this idea?
Well, in my opinion, I feel like it's needed. It's needed. This is something that we as Black women, especially as an introvert, we don't talk about this. And we find struggles in being who we are in these various spaces. What I wanted to do was make sure that there was a platform where women could come in and learn different things about themselves, how they can grasp those tools and strategies on how to navigate those spaces. And again, just be comfortable in who you are. And not only with our personalities, but as Black women. We just we don't talk about it. And I'm just one of those, I want people to be ambitious in who they are and take in that authenticity and be unapologetic about it.
I 100% agree, which is why when you called me to tell me about this idea, of course I'm gonna be on board. One, because you're my sister, but two, because I agree it is very much needed. And I feel like the extroverted part really worked because a lot of people who are extroverted were very misunderstood. And there's a lot more to our personalities about how we navigate that space that does not get talked about as well. So just like you, from an introverted standpoint, you have those ideas and those things that you cover, but talking about someone who is from more of an extroverted standpoint, there are a lot of ideas, a lot of things that kind of get misconstrued about who we are because of our extroverted personality. So I'm really excited to bring that to this platform as well for everybody.
Correct. And I like what you said because there's misconceptions too when it comes to introverts. People always think that we're hermits. We don't like to be around people. We don't like to talk. We're just very secluded. And that's not true. It's just how we process those environments. But when we need to show up, we show up. But then there's that time where we feel like, hey, we gotta back up, recharge, and get back out there. And I think being in the professional setting, that's challenging with introverts because then your competencies are questioned, your abilities are questioned, and people think that you don't know what you're doing and you're not engaging. But that's really not what it is we're very intellectual and we're very strategic in how we move. And I think it's just some people just don't understand that. And it's not that we just don't want to be around people. It's just how we process things.
And I look forward to learning about that because as I continue to grow in my space and navigate and move in the world of entrepreneurship and just in corporate America in general, having different clients in different areas, everybody is not extroverted like myself. And so I'm really excited to hear you share your journey about how you're more introverted because that's going to help me.
Right.
And, I feel like we can learn from each other and everybody else can learn from us as well on how to navigate spaces that they're in with people who have different personalities. So I'm excited about that. But were you always introverted? Like, how did this even come about for you to realize that you were introverted? Like, tell everybody about that journey.
I believe I have always been introverted, but I had extroverted tendencies. I've always been outgoing. I've always been, if it was something that I wanted to do, I was always put myself in the spaces where I needed to be. Growing up in my 20s, I was in the club. I mean,
hey,
partying
it up
now. But I've always had my certain tribe or my certain group of friends that I hung out with. I wasn't one that would always be out in the spaces. I'm not the life of the party type person, but I would go out. I would have fun.
Now let me ask you this real quick before we leave the club scene. Were you, as an introvert, were you still out on the floor boogie-oogie-oogieing, or were you kind of standing at the drink? You know, were you the person at the bar and you were like, something's different about me? Or like, how did that work?
No, I was out there. Always on the deck. Give me a good slide. Okay. I'm out there. I'm always been that way. That being an introvert, that doesn't stop that. Like, you still want to have fun. And truth be told, like in my younger days when I wasn't married, like if it was a dude at the bar, I'll speak.
Okay.
I would do those things, but I wasn't. And when I say this, because I know this is a misconception of extroverts, I wasn't the loud person in the room. Very strategic in the way I move. Very strategic in who I talk to type person. But that, I think, it really didn't hit me until I got into corporate America, and really learning where I wanted to be at in my career is when I really realized that I was a real introvert. Because I sit back, I'm quiet, I'm analyzing, I'm very observant of what's going on, and that's when I knew, like, oh yeah, this is me. I think the other piece to that is what people don't understand. There are different stages of being an introvert. It's not just, you're quiet. It's just depends on the environment. But it wasn't until, in my older age where my introversion just has really kicked in. And again, it's just me being just strategic in the way I move and who I bring around and who's in my circle.
So you keep your circle small. That little piece right there. That little piece.
But I can still remain cordial in spaces. I can still, I can show up when I need to show up. Not even doing this podcast, I'm not a speaker. But I know if I have to get on that stage, I have to do what I need to do to engage my audience. But once that is done, let me get back in my little shell. Yeah. And then I'm good to go. But let me ask you this as a extrovert. When did you realize that you were extroverted?
You know what is crazy? So I've always had like this bubbly personality, and I really enjoyed just being not necessarily the center of attention, but being out there talking to people, meeting new people. I've never been afraid to meet new people. Working in a space or traveling or anywhere, just being well traveled. Like when I was 15, I went to Spain and I was there meeting people, and, not scared to go out and hang out with others or scared to learn the language or anything. I always felt that there was maybe I'm a little too much, I'm like, why am I always out here? Why am I always so much? And then people used to tell me I was too much. Like, you're too loud or you're doing too much. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me because everybody's like, you have this smile and this light about you. Like, so, I never thought anything was wrong with it. I knew there was a place for me somewhere. And so I realized when I was a teenager, that's kind of where it kicked in. But like when I got into corporate America and I'm starting to realize I'm really good at networking. Like I'm really good at networking. I'm really good at making connections. I'm really good at building relationships with people. And there's, nothing that is stopping me from doing that. Like I ask a lot of questions and I'm not afraid to ask questions. I don't know. Maybe I don't ask the questions in the right way. I can't say that I don't do that. Cause there's other parts of my personality that make me ask questions, to people, but I'm straight no chaser with that. And so I'm not afraid to get to know people, or I'm very curious. But it allows for me to just really build relationships. And I noticed that, traveling alone. So for a long time, I had a travel job, and every week I was traveling. And so every week traveling, I'm in different places by myself. I didn't have travel partners with me all the time. And so I had to figure out how to meet people and figure out how to be okay with sitting at the bar or wherever and enjoying a conversation with someone I didn't know. And I actually met a couple people, and we're still friends to this day. Yeah. So it's like, that's kind of how I knew, like, okay, I'm a extrovert. I have this extrovert personality. I'm very influential in that way. And just I'm being a vibe, Yeah. I always add a little funny onto it. So everybody starts laughing. And so, it's just, I make people feel comfortable in that way and feel warm when they talk to me. And so I just continued on to learn more about myself and being an extrovert and how that works. But there's also those misconceptions about it, that we're loud and aggressive. Yeah. My volume is very high and, everything like that. But I have my reserved moments too, where I need to just recharge my battery, for someone who may be more introvert, and you can speak to this more, your battery may drain faster. Let's do the Energizer Bunny. Right. So for someone who is an extroverted personality, my Energizer Bunny, say if we had 100, it may take a long time to get me down to 0% on my battery. So it could be a few days, maybe a few weeks, before my battery drains to 0 and I need a reset. So using that, tell us about the introverted battery.
In the space of 100 people, and my Energizer battery, it starts maybe at the start. I'm at 100%, but probably about that hour, it's about 20.
Ooh, child.
let me not say it. We're probably about at 50. It for me as an introvert, it drains out real quick. But it just takes a lot for me. But I make it work. You said something a few minutes ago, networking. Baby. Networking for me is extremely hard. When it comes to networking and just being around people and engaging, do you feel, let me bring it back just a little bit more with that too, with our background. My parents, I think that's a lot of where my introversion comes from too. They are both introverts, but then they too have their tribe that they're with. And when they get together, we live. That's how I grew up. Do you believe that the way that you grew up made you into this introvert is how you were raised, kind of set the stage of your extroversion?
At 100%, my dad was an extrovert. My dad was the life of the party. Everybody loved him. And I'm using that past tense because my father has passed on. But, when he was alive, there was so much energy and so much life. Everybody knew Chucky. Like, he couldn't go nowhere without somebody saying, "Hey, Chucky." And, so he just had that same type of just drawnness to him that really helped for me to see it, and I'm like, oh my God, like, he's just like me. And so just seeing how he moved in that way and always had people who were he's very likable. Yeah. He was always smiling. He was always looking to have a good time. My dad liked to be the life of the party at the club. He the life of the party on the spades table, dominoes table. Like, you know what I mean? He was very animated is the right word to say. Right. Very animated. Like, you know how when we playing spades and you slap the card down, he gonna do that, but he gonna stand up and slap the card down so everybody could see that was a bad ace. You know what I'm saying? So, just seeing that all the time throughout my life, that really did shape it. But to caveat to that, my mom is not as extroverted. She's the one who thinks I'm like, she was like, you're too much. Yeah. So, just kind of being in that realm. So I kind of lean more towards my dad relationship because I felt like my dad was more like me. So that's how that happened.
I would say for me, so again, my parents are both introverts. My dad is where I get kind of my outgoing pieces of me from,
I can
because if it's something he wants to do, he is going to do that. And I'm the same way. And I think my mom is always saying, like, you're always in stuff. And it's like, if something sparks my interest, or if it's something I want to learn, I'm going to put myself out there to do it. I think I just get that from my dad. But even in that, when it comes to just being in large spaces and having to present yourself, or now we'll say this, you spoke of your dad being that person at the space table. Now I've seen my dad slap cup cards too. So I feel like it depends on who's in the room, and who you're comfortable with. And I guess being an introvert, that's also a main aspect for us too, is who we're comfortable with.
That's a good
to
point.
be who we truly are.
That's
and having people accept us for who we are too.
Yeah, 100%.
It takes us a minute to warm up to people.
Yeah,
it can bring out some of them little extroverted things out of us.
Now, just looking at that, to be into where we are, where there's both of us, and you're in these spaces, and you said that, you know, being comfortable around people and warming up to people, do you feel like in, you know, because we're talking about our professional lives as well on this show, in your professional life, does that work in your favor to have it to where you have to warm up to people beforehand? Like, have you ever felt like you've lost a project, or you felt like, you know, there was an opportunity that you may have lost because you didn't give that 100% personality right off the bat?
Absolutely. I feel like in the workplace, this again is my opinion, I am a project manager, a program manager. I feel like in this field, they expect you to be more extroverted, because you're talking to a lot of people. So they expect you to come off a certain way, because I'm so analytical. I'm trying to understand what it is that the customer wants, or what the project needs to do. In my mind, I'm looking at the end game. How do I get to the end game? So I'm logically in deep thinking on how I can get to that. And I think a lot of times when we have the conversations with leadership, if you're not presenting yourself in the manner that they feel like you need to present yourself, and being that out, you know, just speaking all the time about certain things, then they don't have that confidence in you to be able to take on that big project. I have been in spaces like that. But I think we also get a bad rap in that. But if people understood it more, and what really goes on with us as we process to make sure that we're doing the right things, I think people will understand more. But it's really us really strategically thinking on how we need to move. How do we make sure that this works? It's always a planning thing for us. It's almost immediate of, okay, how can we plan this out? But in the work environments that I've been in, I feel like it has to be an immediate solution right then. And for us, it's not. We have to figure out how to. We know this. We know what we wanted to look at the end, but what's the best way for us to move to get to that? So that has been challenging for me in my workspace of being an introvert, because I want to make sure I'm making the right moves, and it's strategic in the way that I move. So as an extrovert, how does that work for you? I will say for you as an extrovert, I was also a event planner. I know when someone brings to you an idea, you are also immediate, like you already got the plan.
Already done.
2 minutes.
Already done. Girl.
And it's like, oh yeah, we can do that. And I know for you, you already know, yeah, we can do this, this, and this. But the interlings, you like, I'll work that later. And so for us, it's the opposite. When we're looking at the interlings. Okay.
Right.
So how has that worked in your favor as an extrovert?
You know what? It works from the perspective of, I know what I can sell to someone. I know that already. So she's not wrong, y'all. She's not wrong. We have been, I don't know, we joined at the hip. You would have thought that we were the same. We were birthed together. That's how close Dr. Jaye and I am. And so she's not wrong by saying that, you know, someone can bring an idea to me and I already have the whole thing laid out in my mind. In my mind, that's the key thing. So like as an extrovert, I can do that. I know that if someone pitches me something, I have that proposal already built out in my mind and I can sell that to them. Without even knowing the details, I know that if they need this, I could present it like that. Now, when it comes to writing it all out, it's challenging when I have a team. Because it is very hard for me to take what's in my mind and put it on paper so the team can execute. So that has been the largest challenge for me is really being able to give my team ideas or the ideas that I have or what I need for them to do and write that out for them so that way they can be successful when we're doing an event or when we're doing anything, right? So I just automatically feel like, oh, we'll work that out later. But then later comes and I still have it worked out in my mind. And I know how I would do it, but I have yet to provide those details to my team. And I expect them to know. Right. So that is where I'm still learning as a leader who has a team behind her. When I'm doing things is making sure that they know what they're supposed to do when that time comes or even beforehand. So that way, they feel confident to deliver. Now, do we always deliver? Yes. My business partner, Tiffany, for CIS Events, she has been with me these last 5 years. So she just knows me now, but it wasn't always that way. Now, she's like, I know CC would do it like this, so she could just go do it. Right. But as new people come into the business and they are helping to set up and things like that, and they're looking for direction, I'm like, well, why don't you already know that? Like I expect them to know that, but they don't. And so that is where I struggle as a leader, right? Being an extrovert. But, I'm always like, it's okay, girl, we'll figure it out. We'll get through it. Hey, we got to just roll with the punches. Yeah. So, that's something that I find in that space that is hard.
I'm chuckling because I feel like we are joined at the hip, but I think that's how we balance each other out. And why we created this space for us, because give me the plan. Let me draw it out right now. We got to do this. Okay. Then what? That's just how I am. But I know that when I get with her and I say, hey, I want to do this. She's like, okay. Oh yeah, we already got it. But in my mind, okay, I need the plan, baby. We gotta plan this out. So I like that we are doing this. Me too. And having this space again for women to be able to have these conversations.
And it's to learn as well. As much as I'm learning from you and you're learning from me, we are really happy to have this space so you guys can comment and like, share, follow, and really understand, our perspective. And then you share your perspective. We want to hear from y'all too. Like, what resonated with you? What part of the personality piece, do you resonate more with Dr. Jaye? You're more introverted in that space. Or do you resonate more with me, CC, where you're more extroverted and you're like, girl, I don't know what project plan, but we gonna get through it.
Like, I don't need no plan. We don't need no plan.
We got the idea.
Yes.
We just gonna rock with it, and then we have an assessment after and figure out what worked, what didn't work, and then we go through the project cycle again. But so we are really interested in hearing what you all have to say as well, and your experiences, and share that with us as we continue to share our experiences with you, being an extrovert and being an introvert in this space and in this world at this particular time is not by accident. So I'm excited to have you guys here with us to be able to share that.
Yeah. And I ditto that. If there's any topics that you are wanting to for us to talk about, we've got a list of things coming. We're going to talk about how we handle conflict. Our marital situations of who our spouses are, and the personalities with our children, being again in the workspace, being in different organizations, our leadership style. So there's so many things we're going to talk about. But if there's a specific topic that you would like to us to talk more about and to hear more about, please let us know. We are here to support again, this space for all of our Black women, extroverted or introverted.
So that brings us to the end of this episode, but do not forget to like, share, follow, and make sure that you put some topics down in there. Like Dr. J said, we have a lot coming your way. We are excited to be here with you, and we will see you next time. What you want to tell them what we're talking about? Give them a little sneak peek about our next episode.
Girl, you want
We gonna talk about fighting. No, I'm just kidding.
how we handle conflict, whether it's external conflict or the conflicts that we have internally. So that is going to be good.
All right, so y'all make sure y'all tune in to learn more about how we handle conflict as
Introverted vibes
and extroverted energy. Peace out.
Peace.